I grew up in Texas, was born in Galveston, and spent my childhood in Arlington, Texas. When I was a kid, I felt like I wanted to be an astronaut because that was what every kid dreamed of being back then. And then I got into science fiction movies and decided, well, I think storytelling and filmmaking is a better artistic decision for me. And I wound up shooting Super 8 movies for my friends and neighbors and edited them. So I would film a commercial off the television, then I would buy the product and I would have the product not work. And I would edit that in and then show that to my friends. All that took several months because you had to send the film to California to be processed. You had to come back to the drugstore. You had to convince your parents to go to the drugstore, drive you to the drugstore and get the film. And then you had to edit it with a razor blade, and that's not good for kids to have razor blades. The first movie that sparked my love for filmmaking was 2001: A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick film. I saw it when I was very little, and I remember the audience going in. My parents took me to every movie they went to. I didn't get a babysitter, so I was the only kid in the audience. And I'll never forget, the audience going in were so excited and so jubilant and were having so much fun. And they had an intermission, and at intermission they walked out into the lobby and the crowd had been changed. Like they were really freaked out by the film. And even, I was like 6 years old, I'll never forget the feeling of the film had changed those people. What a powerful tool that is, to have changed people. A play doesn't change people. A magic show doesn't change people. A comedy routine doesn't change people. A painting can make you feel different, or a song can make you feel different temporarily. But the film, the cinema, had done something to those people. I wasn't sure what it was. Still not sure. I was an only child, so I got to listen to the adults talk and listen to my grandparents and their brothers and sisters come over to the house in East Texas and tell stories. And I would just be quiet and listen to the stories. And so those stories were incredibly powerful to me. Often they were scary. That storytelling was really powerful for me. It was more powerful than anything I'd seen on television as a kid. And so that seemed important, that somehow I also was able to do that eventually. And so my journey took me through other fields. I loved performing magic when I was a kid, and I worked at Six Flags over Texas as a magician. And that seemed really interesting to me, that you could have someone be challenged. Like they would be challenged to think, was that real? Did something just happen that wasn't natural? But that's limited. Again, it's a show, and you come in and out of a show and you don't, you're not moved, you're not changed. So for me, film was the way to do it. That was a way I could control something, control, and be a part of the design of something that I could curate, that I could edit. Da Vinci painted on the Mona Lisa until the day he died. So I feel like any good filmmaker probably thinks the same thing. They hate having a release date because it means they'll have to be finished, sort of. So for me, it's just been a really cool way to express myself that's different from anything else I could imagine. The first paying job was a commercial that I did. And it was for a Ford dealership in DeSoto, and they wanted to blow a car up for the commercial. And so I was 21 years old, and I was too naive to say no. I was so excited about getting paid. I think it was a total of maybe $500 for the whole commercial, including blowing the car up. I think we charged an extra $200 to blow the car up. Channel 11, the local affiliate, called, and I had called them to say, hey, if anyone comes in, they need a commercial, let me know, I'll do it. And they called me and said, hey, this Ford dealership wants a commercial. I said, great, I'm in. I met with them, and they wanted to blow a car up, so.
Did they like it?
They liked the commercial, yes. They thought that the car was going to be drivable again after the commercial. They thought, well, we'll sell it as a used car. It's just been blown up. I was shocked that no one died. I've been blessed to be able to work with a lot of different people, celebrities and athletes, especially the veteran actors, the actors who get it, where we can have decent conversations about, worked with Kiefer Sutherland on a Super Bowl commercial for 24 that we shot in London. Speaking of blowing up cars, we blew up a building and blew up a car, and that one, I don't know how I keep getting these car explosions, but that was much safer. They're always interesting. All the jobs have been fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like all the people I've worked with. Been blessed. And then I'm currently directing a documentary called The Man of Nehemiah about a South Dallas recovery program that is really interesting and riveting, and it's one man's story. He was a jazz trumpet player and had an addiction to drugs and alcohol, and he was at danger of dying, and his dad decided he wanted to try to get him sober, and his dad started a mission in New Orleans called the Men of Nehemiah, which is a program that gets men sober. It includes military style, music. It's a 9-month program. They're there for 9 months. He got sober, and he got married, and they were pregnant with their first baby. And then Katrina came in and destroyed the city and destroyed the mission, destroyed his home. So he had to move to Dallas. He and his wife got to Dallas, and they were here a week, and she died of an aneurysm, she and the baby. So he, instead of going back to drugs and alcohol, decided he was going to do something beautiful with his life and start giving back. And so that program's been here for 12 years or more, and he's saved thousands of, men's lives, and continues to do that work, despite him facing a really aggressive form of MS, which has him in a wheelchair. So for me, arriving on his doorstep to tell that story was really important. When you hear the music, you see the film, it'll be the documentary version of Hamilton. It's a true story. It's a documentary film about enlightenment and salvation and God and redemption and the human spirit. So it's really, that's what I'm deep in right now. You can probably tell. I always get excited in talking about whatever I'm working on. But I always tell people about film that there was a cave in Chevray, France. It's a 42,000-year-old cave, and there are these drawings inside the cave, thousands of drawings of animals and humans. And the cave is dark, so it's like a movie theater. The paintings are on a rocky wall, so they were firelit, so they appeared to flicker and move. And stories were told, songs were sung. And so movies are in us, motion picture, getting our dreams out and telling stories and talking about our ancestors. And that's in us. And it's really an amazing art form. It's something I'm really privileged and honored to be a part of, because it's incredibly powerful and a very significant representation of our humanity. if we fast forwarded 100,000 years, probably the first thing we would start looking at would be the movies of this generation, which would contain the fashion, which would contain our intelligence, which would contain our opinions of social order and structure and right and wrong. And it might give hope to that generation, or they may look back and say, wow, what savage people they were. I can't believe they survived. But here's a film, just like those cave drawings in Chivray, France, you know. Those drawings represent the life that those people lived and how hard it was. What would be different in another 40,000 years? It'll look like this was a really incredibly difficult life, which it is.